Hello. Hi, Jazz.
Hi, Jasmine.
She is such a beggar. Aren't you? You're just a beggar, aren't you?
Oh, I think you need to put yourself on Spotlight or whatever it's called, Don.
I was. And
Huh.
I had it on Spotlight, obviously.
Oh, there we go.
It's called solo layout on this, but
All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome. Looks like we have Jocelyn and Jam and Jamie. So hello, you guys. And of course, hello to everyone who lurks and doesn't chat. You're just as welcome.
Those lurkers out there. What are you doing down there, Pip Pip?
Oh, it's a Pip Pip.
It's not a Pip. It's a Pip. It's a Pip. We have Pippa today, and on my shoulder is Jasmine. And then we have Cecil and Babaloo. And Mander's out.
Oh, we've got Lucy.
Yeah, we got the Mander. And the Lucy. And the Sugar. They're all undergoing various when you take something away that they expect, you're going to get all kinds of interesting behaviors. So they expect a water bowl, and now they're being trained to rely totally on their Lixit bottles. So I can be taught like everybody else. Dr. Burkett said, do not use water bowls. Don't do it. He's tested the bacterial growth, and I saw that. That means yes, Bentley. And within 4 hours, the water is unacceptable to drink. So that's just exposure to the air, not including whatever else may fall in there. Of course, these guys have feather dust, so that's always been a problem. Within a couple hours, the water's coated with feather dust, but they've had their Lixit bottles for quite a while, but now they're being trained. So to train them to do that, you basically take out their water bottle or water bowl, and you present them a water bowl to drink out of 4 or 5 times a day. And you get them over to the Lixit bottle, and you tap it and get water into their beak, and you keep doing that till they figure it out. Well, of course, it's Lorelei, and she's just plain stubborn. I'm not going to do it. So she's holding out. If I hold it, just like a baby, if I hold it up for her, take the bottle off the side of the cage and hold it up to her face, she'll drink. But she won't go over to it on her own. She just won't do it. But eventually she will. She still gets enough water, but because she gets a bowl of water presented 4 times a day. But what are you doing? Pippa's a little slow on the uptake too. Aren't you, Pip? She hit the water. There is a water bowl in here I fill for them, and this one hit it and was there for about 5 minutes drinking. So She knows she can get water out of the bottle. I've actually seen her drink out of it, but
So we
it
got
doesn't.
Calvin who joined us as well. Hi, Calvin.
Hi, Calvin.
And there's a question from Jam and Jamie. So what kind of bottles are you using? So we know it's Lixit, but is there other details about them?
It's the 16-ounce glass bottle with the large spout.
Okay, glass bottle with large spout. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. The first one, some of them already know. Like KK, he understands how to use a bottle. He just didn't want to. So now he fought me the first day, but he's drinking out of it. And Lucy knew how, but boy, she just switched right away. Like, okay, I'll use a water bottle. And what I've done that Dr. Burkett doesn't mention this, but I think it's my idea to make it obvious what they've been drinking. I take a grease pencil and mark the side of the bottle. So I go around and give everybody a little water, and as I move from cage to cage, I put a grease pencil mark on it, and I can see whether they've been drinking or not right there. So no guesswork. You know, these bottles don't have little gradations on them, so you just take a grease pencil and mark them. And then if you look at Cecil's, he's got 4 marks, and each one's about an inch from the one above it, and that's just during the normal drinking during the day. This one doesn't want to do it either, do you?
Oh, we see a scaredy cat.
No, he likes to dunk his food in the water.
Ah. Oh, I was thinking, oh, he's such a timid boy. Maybe he's afraid of the bottle, but nah, he just wants to dunk water. Okay.
Yep, he just wants to dunk his food in it. So he goes over there and he goes over to where the water bowl is, and it's empty, and he looks at the water bowl and looks at me. I mean, he's saying, obviously, put water in here, and then I tap on the Lixit bottle, and he's another one. I have to take the bottle off the side of the cage and put it up to his beak, and he knows. I know he knows. He doesn't want to make that change. But.
That's cute, though. What a sweetie.
Yeah, he's a good bird. He's a good boy. Yeah, come on, camera, turn around.
And we've got a follow-up question from Jam and Jamie, who wants to know how you clean the bottles.
Well, you can buy the bottle brush that Lixit makes, or you can just use a regular bottle brush. I already had bottle brushes, so that wasn't a problem, but you want one that has bristles at the bottom too, so you clean the sides and the bottom with the brush. And what I do, because there's 12 birds, right? But I've been doing this for a while because I changed their water anyway, even though they only Bob and Cecil were the ones who were mostly drinking out of them before. What I do is I take all the bottles, I take the rubber stoppers with the spout on them, and I throw those into hot soapy water. And then I set all 12 bottles up I have these liners I throw in the sink. So I set all the bottles in there, and then I put hot water in them, and I get soap on the end of the brush and just go from bottle to bottle to bottle until they're all brushed out. And I rinse them. And once the bottles are rinsed and clear, then I use RO water that I get from a local supplier, and I put a little bit of that in there. Then once I've done that, I go back and take the stoppers, and I clean them. And there's a little brush for that too, so I can brush them out, and I shake them and make sure that there's soapy water in there. I clean them. Then I rinse those off and shake them. There's 2 bottles inside the spout are 2 metal balls, stainless steel balls. So you need to make sure you get all the soapy water out. So I put them into clean water. Not really, it's well water, and I shake it back and forth until I've got all the soap out. Then I put them into RO water and do the same thing. Then I put the stopper on the bottle, and because it has the bottles already have a clean RO water in them. So, and I shake them up and down and make sure everything's clear, and then I rinse all the bottles out, or just drain all the bottles out and fill them with water and put the stoppers back on them. You got one bird, that's not terribly complicated. You got 12, you better have a plan. Yeah, so.
So we got a couple of people who came. We've got Falcon Sue. Hello, Falcon Sue. And also Anne-Marie is in the chat as well. And I think she's here on the call as well, but she's still sneezing.
Hello. I'm here. Still not
Yeah.
really capable of talking much. But
not feeling too good.
Oh, that's good to hear your voice. I know you're sick because I've been chatting with you over the last couple of days. Pipe chatting. What are you doing down there?
Oh my. I'm going to have to go away just for 5 minutes or so. So if there's any questions, then hush. Then either Anne-Marie can take them, or we can wait till I come back.
Yeah, I can see them too if I try. I have to flip the phone a different way and all that, but I can do it. So you do what you need to do. Hi, hey, big boy.
Wap. Which Bob?
That Bob. The Bobadoo.
The Babaloo, not the Babaloo in chat. Okay.
And I got you. And this is the tip on my lap.
Kristen, CEO, and Kelly Cockatoo has entered the chat. So hello and welcome. Saying your birds look so content and happy. I'm still building my relationship with Kelly Sue. It's been a very successful 14 months so far, but I'm still learning every day. And Jamie has a question. How often do you clean them? More often?
With the bottles, Dr. Burkett did research on it at his facility, and he didn't find any noticeable bacteria in the bottle after 5 days, but I would not recommend you go that long, neither does he. About 4 days and then change it out. You can clean the stopper more often if you'd like, but you don't have to change the water in them. Say about every 4 days you change it. Or if it starts to get low, that kind of thing. Or if you feel like doing it every day, it doesn't hurt. But he went through the testing to make sure, because if you've got water in a bowl and it's sitting out for 4 hours, he said, I see a lot of birds that have got intestinal problems from bacteria and that kind of thing, and it's just from the water sitting out. So every 4 days for me, I've been changing it. I used to do it more than that until I read what he had to say about it. So every 4 days will work. Yeah. Pippa, hold on. I just want to see what's going on. Neighbor's dog started barking. Okay. I see why, because there are more dogs walking by. So. Bob. Bob. Hey. Hey. Bob. Bob. Come here. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. I know you were around dogs before. Yeah. Hi, Mander. Yeah, that's a big change, going from changing the bowls 3 times a day So just changing the water bottle every 4 days, but while you might get a little bit of bacteria on the end of the spout, it isn't enough to cause any real trouble. What causes the trouble is the stagnant water in the bowls. So. Stop it. All passed. Yeah, his book is an eye-opener. I'm just going through it and checking all the boxes to make sure I'm doing everything I possibly can do. So, what are you doing up there, big guy? Huh? They're watching the humans. Yeah, well, they are watching the humans, Bob. You don't need to laugh about it. It's true. What's the chuckle about? So what we're going to talk about today is, bringing out your parrot's personality. Now, that's something most people don't think about. It's like you get something in your life and you kind of expect it to be the way it is. It's kind of like buying a thank you. That's just what I needed. Pippa, if I wanted you to poop on me, I would have asked, okay? I would have said, poop on me, Pippa. Oh, excuse me, guys. They almost got the phone, too. I know. They don't seem to, well, they really, once they're up on a perch, they don't think about what's below. They won't poop on me, but, if they're on my body, but up on the ropes, that's a dive bombing position. They won't think about it. Diesel does, but for the opposite reason. If he's upset with me, he'll come over and poop on me. But he's the only one that does that. Hi, baby. So it's like, you buy a ceramic leprechaun to put in your garden, right? And you go out there in your gardening and you see I've got me ceramic leprechaun out here. Doesn't it look cute, And then one morning you go out there and it turns into a statue of Diana, from ancient Greece. And you're like, what? It doesn't happen, right? You don't buy a ceramic leprechaun and all of a sudden it changes into something else. Not unless you've been, taking drugs or something. But with parrots, you may get yourself one that has issues because of who it's been around or what its environment has been in. If, for example, if you have a job and they have you working in a cubicle, like some of these people who answer phones all day, and all you do is sit in that cubicle, and when you sit down in the morning, there's a note what you're supposed to do for the day, or there's emails that tell you what you do, and you really don't interact with anybody. You've been doing that job for a year, and then you don't have that job anymore, and all of a sudden you're in a totally different kind of job where you're walking among people and you're talking and you're expected to be part of it. It doesn't really work for a while. And some of these guys have been in situations that, like in pet stores where people come up and go, oh, hi, pretty bird, hi, pretty, and all that. But then they walk away. So after a while, you just kind of ignore people when they walk up. Some will. Some will continue to react, and others will be like, it's going to be more of the same. So you may get a bird that doesn't seem to be interacting with you. Well, it's been through some things that put it there. So you have to start working with them, finding out what they like. This guy likes paper. He likes you to put cardboard in there. And I find new things to do with cardboard. He doesn't care so much what kind of cardboard, but, I have this cardboard I roll up now, and he likes that. He likes pine cones. You put toys that are hanging, he hardly pays any attention to them. Even if you put cardboard on them, he doesn't like hanging toys. He likes to be down on the bottom of the cage playing with stuff. Where Cecil does both. He likes the toys that are on the bottom of the cage, and then he also likes the hanging ones. So everyone's a little different, and you only find that out by interacting with them. And as you interact, different parts of their personality come out. Yeah. If you're at Disneyland, you have a different personality than if you're working. Of course, when you're working, most people don't have a personality; they're just drones, right? You're doing what the master or the feudal lord tells you to do all day long, and you don't really have a personality. Your personality comes out when you get out of that situation. And with these parrots, it's quite often the same. They've been in one situation, and then they're in another. Like when this one found out that he could tap me and get my attention, that he started doing a lot of that. And then if I didn't immediately respond, he would tap harder. And after a while, he was whacking me on the head. But that was my fault for not catching the signals he was giving me earlier. So now he'll come over and stare at me for a while and try to get my attention. He'll only tap at me if I totally don't catch him doing that. So if you interact with them and find out what they like, after a while they'll develop more likes and they'll become more fleshed out as a personality. I got your ear, didn't I? Yeah, I did. But you just have to think about ceramic leprechauns. You didn't bring one of those home. You've got a parrot. Okay, they're not ceramic leprechauns. They're not going to be the same every day. And if you don't interact with them, they may end up, as I wrote in one article, they become these what you consider evil harpies that scream and try to bite you. Well, that's not their fault. So. We're human beings. We don't see reality. We make we create our own little world in our heads as to what's actually going on. We have limited visual acuity. We can't see into. We actually see in a tiny spectrum of light. We don't hear everything. We only see a small section of what's in front of us, and the rest our brain fills in, including the blind spot that's there. You have a spot where the optic nerve comes through, and you don't see anything there, but your brain fills it in like it is there. So, I mean, you have to be observant, and it's not easy. I know when I was studying, being observant is the most difficult thing you're asked to do. Really pay attention. You got to really pay attention. So, hi, Pippa. Hi. We tend to also see just the moment, what's happening right now, right? Like, Bander just took off. Why did he do that? Well, I heard some voices outside. That could have done it. For the mere fact that I stopped petting him. 9 times out of 10, if you stop petting Bander, he'll take off. So sometimes he'll actually get more adamant, though. And he'll come around and try to tap you on the head gently at least once before he starts whacking you with that big beak. You got a big beak there, buddy. Now they're watching the humans coming in and out over there. So they're kind of all facing, the ones that are on that rope are facing out to see what's going on next door.
It's like TV for them.
Yeah, pretty much. They have the TV going all day, and it does help a little bit, but it's not like interaction. You get a totally different parrot when you're interacting with them. This one, all the interaction I've done with her has brought her to where she can be in here now with the majority of birds. she still goes after Lorelei, and cause is she's got visual problems. So, um, cause if you bring her out here with even one other bird, you have to watch really close because she'll take off. And unless you're looking right at her, you can't tell when she's going to do it. I can see it when she starts this. I can. It's like watching somebody load a gun. I can see it, but if I'm not looking, it doesn't take very long. Within 5 seconds, she can be in attack mode. So I think a lot of that has to do with her vision, and she's just so bonded to me because she has to rely on me.
And she's a quick mover too. She sort of teleports rather than flies.
Yeah, she does. And that bird moves, which it's fine if you can control it, but I you have to be careful they don't hurt each other. And I know a lot of people won't even try, but I'm still working with her to get her where she accepts other birds. Um, for the most part, she gets along with Sugar, and she doesn't go after Jasmine. I mean, I can have her out with Sugar and Jasmine a little bit, but I still have to keep an eye on her because it only takes one injury. They get an infection, it can be the end. So
Maybe she prefers the pink ones because she used to get along with Peaches. Although everybody got along with Peaches.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, she did get along with Peaches. Everybody got along a lot better when Peaches was here, but pretty much could
Yeah,
have everybody out at the same time.
yeah, Cosy used to snuggle right up in her feathers. It was cute.
I think it was hard on all of them when we had to move into that temporary location, and then Peaches died there too. It just wasn't good for them to be so penned up all the time. They'd get out in the aviary, and they could pretty much all go out there, but they weren't happy the rest of the time. So
Yeah, it was a tough spot. But look where you've ended up now.
yeah, we get out here the summer stuff because we can't come out in the summer. In the winter, it's on and off, but in the fall. But when you get to the end of spring, the beginning of summer, it gets too hot to be out here. I mean, we can come out early in the morning, which we can do more now because I have less time filling water bottles, or I should say water bowls, because that's not something I do in the morning anymore. I still have to walk around and offer water to them, but I don't fill water bowls anymore. So
You can bring everybody out first thing before breakfast. That'll shake them up.
yeah, I don't know what they do to me if I didn't give them their breakfast first, but that's something else. You learn as you go along. I don't care how long you've been doing it. Now, when I make their mash, which I can actually make it to last longer now. Now that the new technique is I put it in a container. I have these snap containers, and after I make it and I freeze it, and then once it's frozen, I put it into a bag and vacuum seal it. So, and you let it thaw out overnight in the refrigerator, and it comes out just like you made it, pretty much. So, vacuum sealing is a lot better than putting them in like a plastic container too, because it's it's airtight and there's no air in there. So, and air is is the friend of bacteria and not the friend of their food. So, and then you put it out for 2 hours and you throw it out. But which I get complaints from them about all the time. Why are you throwing out that food? Because it's 2 hours old. Right, Pippa? Hi, Pip. Hi, Pip. Now, when I try to give her the water, of course, I'm seeing their personalities come out now because, in different ways, because now I'm telling them that I want something else from them. They gain because they get fresher water, even though it's been in there. They've been ignoring those bottles. So, with her, I go to give her a bottle, and she sees it like I'm trying to pressure her. And the second she sees that, she starts vibrating. She goes right into submissive female mode.
Oh,
It's
she likes a
hard to,
man who can be dominant.
yeah, she likes them tough. I don't know. So I try to catch her when she's she's eating or something to show her how to use the bottles. It takes a while for her to flip into that mode, but she came out today and jumped on that. Even though I'd offered her water, she jumped on that bowl and drank for 2 minutes. So. But every time you make a chance, you make a change. You're looking at a potential extinction burst, and when they have something they expect and it's not there, you're going to get different behaviors. And just try to capture the best of the different behaviors you get. Scan and capture. Look for the behavior that's going to work and try to capture it. Bob! I'm going to try to change the camera angle here, which is not as easy as you would think. It's nice if they made it easier, but they don't. So, that's about the only complaint I have. There you go. Babaloo? Babaloo?
That sounded like a super deep bubbly. It was like Babaloo.
Babaloo. He's got a lot of different voices that he uses. I don't hear that high-pitched voice he does with new people terribly often, but where he says, "Hi, hi." He'll talk like that. Oh, as soon as I switch that, Bob, as soon as I switch the camera, he goes somewhere else. You've been sitting there for 10 minutes, and I switched the camera. And what do you do? Huh? That's Bob for you. Jan and Jamie, let's see. Well, it kind of depends on the size of your bird. If you've got a larger parrot, then you want to have you want to use the stopper ones anyway. Just pick one that has a stopper with the rubber piece that has the smaller stem. And those, I bought extras when I bought those bottles, and we're still on the original. They really last forever. You just have to make sure that you clean them so the balls don't get stuck inside. And then, when you're shaking them out, you just take them and shake them and make sure the water's coming out. Get a couple of good streams of water out, and you know you're okay. I go by and make sure they're okay, which you can tap them. You tap them from outside, they'll usually drip, so you know they're okay. You don't have to take the whole thing off and shake it every time. So. Bob? I don't know who you think you are, but quit stealing the paper out of my pocket.
That's just what he does.
Thunderbringer. When was the last time you took a vacation?
I don't think Don can remember.
Well, the last vacation I remember was 1983, but it had nothing to do with the birds. I've not had a vacation, not that I really try to go for them, but I haven't had any time out of the sanctuary since 2008. you know, when I first started the sanctuary, and I only had a few birds, I would go to the wild animal park and do a 5 mile walk every morning for an hour and a half. But um, as I got more and more birds with me, that became something I couldn't do. So now I do the walk inside the house. Walk to get them this, walk to get them that. Hi, Pip. You're back on my shoulder again. You know that? I can point the camera at you from here. It isn't as easy to figure it out, but I can do it. Yeah, their personalities aren't static, and if you give them the same kind of day every day, it does get boring. So you want to mix it up a little bit. So once in a while, I just put music on the TV, and then they listen to music for an hour or so, and then I'll put on the movies, and when I'm busy doing other things. They have to get out, though. They always have to get out. You having fun over there? Jasmine, what are you doing? Chewing the rope, chewing the tarp. One or the other. As you guys notice, she's a lot more active out here.
Sugar's on the
Now,
move.
Sugar, come here. She's not going to do anything to you. Don't stare her down. Come over here. Over here. That's the beak petting signal. Hand signal. Technical name for it is a cue. I do that, and she'll come over. What they used to call a command, but that's because people always thought in terms of who the boss. Who the boss. She doesn't always come over for beak pets when I offer them. That's just an offer.
Well,
Right?
speaking of parrot personalities, I think Sugar couldn't be more different than she was when she first came.
You got that right. Yeah, she was a totally different girl.
Both physically and personality-wise.
Yep. And she's one, if it hadn't been for Dr. Jenkins explaining to me the necessity of giving her Haldol, she would be running around with a collar on and totally unhappy. She hates collars. You can't really say they hate, but she'll do everything in the world to try to take it off. She'll get on the ground and try to scrape it off. She'll whine and complain the whole time it's on her. So. And I know some people do that. They just put them in a collar and leave it on, but I see those things as temporary. Of course, without the medication, she would be dead. So.
Well, Anne-Marie and I saw her on FaceTime once with the collar on, and it was horrible.
Yeah,
I felt really bad for her.
Yeah, she. That one time when she was going after her shoulder. That's almost enough to stop her from doing it. If she relates the collar to chewing on her shoulder, she won't chew her shoulder. That's just that much. She has a disdain for those things.
Yeah, I mean, she was thrashing around so much that she almost tipped her hospital cage over. So that was quite something to see.
Another thing about collars is if they wear them for a long time, it starts to create scar tissue along the area where the jugular vein is. So eventually it could cause them to have problems getting blood to their brains. So. I'm not sure, but I think I know one family that did that. That bird's no longer with us now. So, but without some kind of medication, you're not going to stop it. It had
Well,
been raised by. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the thing is, you've got some birds that might hold on and be okay for a long time, but you just don't know. I mean, ones like Sugar, she'll just end herself in about a week tops.
Yeah, it can happen fast too. I mean, I know when I was trying to get her that one time, trying to get her dosage down, and she's on 0.21 milliliters now, but I got her down to 0.17, and I came in the morning, and it was just a bloody mess. She had just torn into herself, and I called Dr. Young, which I can't do. Well, I could do that now, but it would take me 7 hours to get there. Don't have an avian vet in the area. I have lots of vets that will see birds, not here, but in Las Vegas. But they don't. They're not qualified avian vets. But anyway, it took an hour, and I helped. I was his lab assistant for that. I helped while he went through and took all these feathers that had been ripped and just stubs on her skin and to pull them out. I stopped counting at 75 feathers. So she has to stay on the medicine. She's fine with the medicine. She's active and busy, chews on toys, does all kinds of things. But she doesn't chew on herself anymore. Take it away, and I don't think she'd last a few days. But there's always somebody out there who say, "Oh, we can just solve it with love." Yeah, I see that in the divorce courts every day. Love really works. Yeah. But it doesn't work by itself. I prefer Gandhi's term for it. He didn't believe in love, but he believed in loving kindness, because you can always treat others with loving kindness. But as far as love goes, that's just the other side of the coin from hate. So somebody could come along and just love her to death.
Yeah, well, don't want to be one of those women who, well, I guess men can do it too, but one of those women who says, "Oh, I can change him." No, you can't.
Yeah. Well, I had a. Go ahead.
If I just love him enough, then he'll be the perfect man.
Yeah.
If I love her enough, she'll be the perfect bird.
I had a long talk with Dr. Jenkins when Chloe was chewing herself up, and it was getting worse every day. And they tried everything. The people who had it before, they did all the. They used to do heavy metals testing. It's almost never that, but that used to be what they thought. So they did all the metals testing, which Jenkins was the one who did that. He wouldn't do that today. He doesn't do the metals testing unless you can see it in the X-rays. He's not going to do it. It has to be that much metal inside him. But they did all the down to having her neutered because she was laying so many eggs and constantly laying eggs. And finally, they just tried to take her back where they got her, and they wouldn't take her. They said she wouldn't do good in a flock because they had an outdoor flock. What they really were saying is they didn't want a bird that was all torn up. Probably good, because at the time they would have taken $1,000, taken her in, and hid her somewhere in a cage where nobody could see her. They don't do that. That place, the guy who was the vet that ran that's gone, and his wife now has that, and it's a nonprofit now, and it doesn't do that. But so he explained to me why it works, and we went through eventually I made a video about it after I learned how to do videos, because I had to work my way all the way through the birds we had, and then arrange with time with him. But when he explained why it works and why it's necessary, and I tried it, Now I've got like 10 birds that are on the medication every day. So Snowball started up. He started chewing on his left leg, throwing the feathers out there. So he had to go on it. Cecil's borderline. He chews on his outer primary feathers. But if it gets any worse, I'll put him on it. But I try to stop it as long as possible. The problem is most of these guys are programmed because of the way they were raised. So raised in captivity, they're programmed to do that, to destruct themselves. Right? Where's the beak? Where's the beak? There's the beak.
Oh, well done. There's a comment from Kristen who says that she's in Tucson, Arizona. So that's pretty near you. That must be one of the closest, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
As we got people all over the world, but I think Arizona is in your neck of the woods almost. You were thinking of moving there if you hadn't gone to Nevada.
Yep. Well, I got some miscues. There was someone telling me that there was a rescue there that would let us move in, but that wasn't really true. When I finally talked to the person who ran the rescue, that was not the case at all. So, but yeah, and I mean, there's all kinds of things to do in Perot. If you want to come visit, I mean, we have 2 bordellos, two casinos, and a Walmart.
And
right
an Indian.
And a what?
An Indian restaurant.
Oh yes, we do have an Indian restaurant. Although I went in there to pick up takeout once. That was it. I had somebody else send me some food from there, but they use DoorDash and it costs a fortune to have it. And I can't get out much. What are you doing? I wonder why. Bob, why don't I get out much? He went out with me last time. When I went to get water, Bob went with me. I put on some Elvis Presley and he was dancing. He's a good dancer. He was bouncing his head from side to side, making whistling sounds to go along with the music.
And he's a good boy when he's in public.
Yeah. He's a pretty good boy out here too. It's just in the socialization room. If I took all of the if I took the couch out of there and I made it so that I could get to him and he had no place to hide, which would mean I'd have to get the cages out of there. Which I actually have one room filled with cages. I don't know what I'd do then, but the thing where if he can run and hide, he will ignore me when other birds are around. He listens to me most of the time, but like in here, he knows I can get to him. He can hide under the chair, but that isn't going to do him much good. But in that room, he can hide under the cages. He can hide under the 2 chairs I put together as a couch, and he knows it. So, and it's so bizarre to see the different behaviors. Out here, he sits and plays like he is right now. He rarely gets into a staring match. In that room, any bird comes in, he starts staring at him. I don't know why when he goes in that room, he puts on gang tattoos, but that's what he does. There are so many persons. This is something else you don't realize. You don't have a ceramic leprechaun, right? So when a situation changes and you see a different behavior in your bird, a lot of people are like, "Hey, you little toad! That's the second time you pooped on me today." If you have to poop in my pocket, I mean, that's an art in itself, pooping in my pocket, I just couldn't move fast enough to get away from it. Yeah, when you put them in different situations, you end up with different behaviors. There's a lot of people who, if they knew Bob inside the building, they would never take him out to something like a Renaissance fair and let him get petted by children. They wouldn't do that. But he's not aggressive in that situation at all. He's friendly. The only time he gets aggressive is if somebody tries to touch me. Now, he doesn't allow that. But so they're going to act differently in different situations. And if you're actively trying to bring their personality out, you'll see that, and then you'll find out that, wow, he'd be good to take here. Oh, I could take him there. He'd be great to take to the grocery store. But, people, especially with the bird flu now, everybody be like, oh, no, it's a bird, And they're walking around with these little kids that have snot ripping out of their nose, who are the real disease keepers of the human race, right? Because they don't have the immune system yet to fight it all off. For these guys, and it's not the only thing you can get other than, which is why you see the netting around here to keep the birds out, but the only thing you can get from these guys is going to be psittacosis, and that's rare, pretty rare. You get that from bird stores and pet stores that carry budgies and cockatiels, that kind. Budgies and cockatiels are not going to be tested by the vets, folks. They're not. They're just not going to do it because the price on the bird is so low that they can't afford to get those tests. So it's rare for that to happen, but it does happen. So, and it's because, these breeders are in it for the money. They're not taking care of their flock properly. Right, Bob? Everybody's getting along. Pippa, are you just over here to poop on me? Is that what you're over here for? I'm coming down and getting along. I don't need to pet your hand. On the fly, huh? Take the picture down. Just if you've got a highly intelligent animal, you got to know it's going to behave in different situations in different ways. And if you change your behavior or the color of your hair or the way you dress, you're going to get reactions. Try forcing them to drink out of a water bottle. And actually, it's more natural than what you would think, because in the wild they're probably drinking off water that's dripping off of leaves, and they're drinking at waterfalls and that kind of thing, where it's easier for them to get the water down their throat. Otherwise, they have to bend over, get a little bit in their beak, tilt their head back. They don't have to do that when it comes to waterfall. So in this case, if it's high enough, it should be a little higher. You don't want it low. You want it to be up where they have to turn their head so that the water can go in and they don't have to tilt their head back. Would you quit trying to sneak into my pockets? There's all kinds of paper around here for you doing that. I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yes, I know there's paper in there. It's a toilet paper pouch. Well, they're paper towels, but it's toilet paper for in here. Right? Hey, Bob? Right, Bob?
Oh, things have gone quiet all of a sudden.
There we go.
Ah.
Someone forgot to put on his call blocking.
Yeah.
It's a little bit late for that, but I'll do it now.
Well, we've only got 4 minutes left.
Was Bob doing?
Yeah, but when it's one of the services that they call up and, oh, well, when I spoke to you last time, you said to call you back later, which of course is their latest routine. They never spoke to me at all, right? And they'll call right back because they know some people have their phone set to, take your phone call if it's within the next 3 minutes. So they try to make it like an emergency. They really don't want to talk to me. What I usually say to the salespeople is nothing. I'm not rude. I go, yeah, I used to be a salesperson, so when I say no, I mean no.
Yeah.
That usually works. Well, we have this offer that's only good. Don't start giving me the end of the world clause. I know that one. I know all the tricks, so at least most of them. When I was working as a stereo salesman back in ancient times, I never asked anybody if they wanted to buy something. They'd be looking. I'd wait for the man to reach for his wallet or the woman to check her purse, which is a buy signal. And I'd say, will 25 feet of stereo wire be enough? I'll just toss that in, and then they look at you and go. They shake their heads, and you just start writing the order. You never even ask them to buy. I am a graduate of the Lee Dubois Power Selling course, so I don't use it much in my life, but I know it. Doesn't work on the birds. What bird?
That,
The jasmine
they're
bird?
all starting to perk up, I think, because they know it's nearly time for you to stop talking and pay attention to them.
Yep.
So if anyone has any questions before we go, then type them in the chat. So Kristen wants to know if you're an avian PhD, Don.
No. I don't think there is such a thing except obviously avian vets are, but, just don't buy from a pet store. Like they say, somebody said, don't get me started on pet stores. Pet stores and breeders. There's enough birds out there. Rescues have got plenty of them. So I don't think just because you get a bird from a breeder or a pet store, it's going to be a better buy. No. I've stood in pet store, or there was a bird store where I used to live. It's gone now, but I listened to the salespeople with their schmooze. People saying, "Well, I don't really have enough money to buy the cage and the bird." Well, you could buy a small cage, and then get a bigger cage later. And I'd look at them, I start shaking my head and walking away. I'm like, "Yeah, that's going to work out real well."
Oh, there's another question. This is from Sabrina. What would Don do for a male who wants to be petted under his wing? He is very insistent. Right now, I just stop petting and put my hand under his leg. Oh, under her.
Or
I put my hand under my own leg. Sorry.
Yeah, we call that negative punishment. Taking away what they want in order to extinguish the behavior. It works, but it's not as effective as reward, obviously. Threatening to fire someone isn't as good as handing them a bonus check. What I do, and it depends on the bird, because I need to know the bird to answer this well. But basically, what I look for is something to replace that behavior with. So if they're wanting attention, which is what obviously they're wanting too much attention, I have that issue with KK. So what I do is try to divert them to something else. In KK's case, what I do is I'll bring Cecil over and get them to preen each other. That helps. If there's a particular toy they like to play with, or what you can do, you can use food. If you have a treat, you found out what they like and you've taken it out of their diet, so you can use it as a reward. What I do there is you can't reward them while you're involved in a behavior you don't want. So what you do is you maybe take them and move them to your other hand. And when they go on your other hand, say, good bird. You give them whatever it is, a sunflower seed or something. What you have to be careful there is that they might start just presenting their wing to get the seed. Okay? So you have to make it like, oh, now you're on the other hand. Oh, you're over. And when they, when you get them on the other hand, oh, good bird. You're stepping up and give them that. And then just be aware that they might start to associate that, and you'll have to try something different. One thing you can do too is pick them, take them and put them on another perch, or some place where there isn't a heck of a lot to do for 2 minutes. Never more than 2 minutes. I mean, when I say never, there are always variations, right? But 2 minutes is a good limit for a timeout. Just get them timed out for 2 minutes and then bring them back over. And after a while, being timed out, they'll try to avoid it. It's an instinctual behavior, though. Mating is an instinctual behavior, and that's what you're getting is mating behavior. So it's hard to break those. Usually you need to spin them some way or another. So again, you can slow it down by putting them on another perch, or you can get them to do another behavior, such as step up, and reward them for that. That'll slow it down, but if it's mating behavior, it's hard to stop. Let's put it that way. I deal with it every day with KK because he is just hyper that way. He has a special relationship with my hand. I know he believes that, but I think that Eleanor and Amy both know that too. I have to deal with him all the time, and he likes to hammer my hand. And I'll let him do that for a little bit, but if he starts going beyond that, then I'll try to get Cecil involved, or I'll do something else. So.
Yeah, once he gets focused, it can be difficult to distract, so you have to do it at the right time.
Yeah, and I would say with somebody else, because I can deal with it. I can let it go a little farther because I'm trained to deal with it, break it up and stuff. But most people, you want to nip it in the bud. As soon as he starts hammering your hand, you want to try to give him a toy, or put him somewhere else so he can focus on something. I can put him by my side. That would work because he likes to nest over there. But nesting behavior is, he had a bad situation when his caretaker was dying, and so because of that situation, he feels he needs the attention probably, but he's lacking that attention. So I hope that helps. And we run over a little bit. I want my moderators get back onto what they're doing. And
yep. Well, Sabrina says thank you. That's helpful. So I guess that's about time to wrap up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And thank you, Eleanor, for moderating, and Babalu for lurking in the background. And get rid of that migraine too. You just took one thing after another with you in the last week. So get well. And keep your Raisa Kata. Make sure it's in good order. We will see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a non-profit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.